I feel like the overwhelming feeling upon viewing the new One Piece live action for most fans was one of shock. We were all just surprised it wasn't shit, and that's why everyone kept jerking this adaptation off. Speaking for me, the bar was so low shit got buried. When the show turned out to not be a soulless murder victim of the original, I fell to my knees, remembered his words, and it took on a whole new meaning. I watched the whole thing and said, wow, I love the changes they decided to do here. The way they handled that one arc was actually so genius. It's crazy that they actually left that one scene in. You see the pattern here. My hype and enjoyment of the adaptation was solely derived from the quality that it was based off of one of my favorite shows of all time. So what happens when you take away that adaptive quality from the perspective of the viewer? Does it still hold up? Well, I put my girlfriend up to the task of watching through it to let her sound her completely unfiltered opinion about it. Just saying, she has watched like 1, maybe 2 episodes, but I literally think that means she only knows like Luffy and Kobe, so it's not really a big deal. She is far from a One Piece fan. So I told her to just record some of her thoughts, and I wanted to share some of them with you guys to maybe shine some light on how this adaptation will be seen by everyone else. So her first comment reads, why are some of these scenes actually hella awkward, like cold sweat, secondhand embarrassment type shit? Some stuff just looks awkward when it's real people doing it. I completely understand. Whether it's Luffy stretching 50 times his original body mass to perform the fatal triple flap gum gum buster, or some specific characters who when translated to actual reality failed to just not be cringe. I can definitely see both sides. Especially with the Luffy shit, where his very anime maneuvers literally not being capable of being translated into a real setting. For example, like that one scene when Alpha Male Garb throws a fucking cannonball with his bare hands at Luffy. I love that scene. Luffy stretches his stomach to an ungodly degree and cushions the cannonball while also deflecting it. Is it just me, or does Luffy look like fucking clay here? Obviously, when dealing with a show this animated, or to say it in other words, when dealing with a show that has very frequent expressions of over-exaggeration and or over-dramatic scenes, a live-action version has a big job to do. Actually, scratch that. You know who has the biggest job? The actors. The actors in a live action are presented with an impossible brick wall. That brick wall is called cringe. They have to act goofy, over the top, and or do some crazy ass anime moves while not actually being too over the top or goofy. Yeah, that sounds fucking impossible. Which is why the people I feel for the most with all these live action disasters out there are the careers that were ruined because like one scene adapted from an anime that should have 1000% stayed in anime. Although, this isn't something the One Piece live action has to worry about at all, because every single actor on this cast is fucking perfection. It's scary how much all these guys internalize their roles. It's really impressive. But you know, there are still some hiccups here and there with how the scenes are translated, which on hindsight, I could definitely see how that gives secondhand embarrassment. Like, me personally, I got that cold sweat when they started covering Luffy's backstory. And that scene smoothly brings us on to the next comment. Stop bringing up the fucking King of the Pirates shit in the most serious scenes. Yeah, no, that shit's valid. What's the difference between these two characters? It's that one is the representation of the other in a more realistic setting. I know that Luffy will be Luffy no matter what medium he's in, but just feel the vibes of this one scene.
I'm setting out to follow my dream. To find the One Piece. And become King of the Pirates!
It feels awkward in an almost uncomfortable way. At least to me. Like, some things just don't work when translated to reality. Say I was like some Ivy League college graduate who's gunning to become president of the United States, right? And every other politician I come into contact with, I'm like, you know why I'll beat you. It's because I'll inherit Obama's will and become
President of the United States of America.
I think you get my point by now. I think just like how Sanji in this adaptation doesn't discharge half of his bloodstream the moment his eyes meet a member of the opposite sex, Luffy doesn't have to hit his quota of at least one loud declaration that he's gonna be king of the pirates once per episode. This adaptation did incredibly well with leveraging the spirit of the original characters with the restrictions of live action, with honestly most of the other characters in the show, although sometimes with Luffy. Look, I love Inaki Godoy's acting. He probably did the absolute best with the script they gave him. I think here and in some other scenes, he's been done dirty with the types of scenes he was recreating. I don't really think anyone can capture the true spirit of the OG characters, but that's not like a bad thing at all. There's a whole ass dimension separating these two, so it's good when we see not accuracy in live action adaptations, but conformity to the dimensions the adaptation lives in. So she made a lot of comments just regarding the CGI of the show, even though I thought it was pretty good. So I'm gonna just combine them into all one section. Some of the CGI looks out of place because the show wants to be serious and goofy and the same time, and it goes from teehee funny to like 4K Sea Beast. Okay, so I requested a translation because I thought she was dissing this masterpiece of a sea beast, but apparently this was supposed to mean like the disparity between the hyper realistic looking stuff and the goofy moments is kind of weird, which yeah, I guess I can sort of see that, although I think it's being really nitpicky, kind of small thing in the greater context. Buggy disembodied limb CGI looks fucking strange. It ain't that bad. Maybe it's just because like the concept of Buggy's chop chop fruit is just fucking strange in and of itself. Arlong looks goofy. Yeah, he fucking does. He looks like a sex offender in a skin suit. I don't think anyone is defending him, to be honest. The people who work on special effects, in my opinion, have the second hardest job in live action adaptations. Like, first of all, it has to portray these serious scenes in a serious manner, which is easy to do. Just somehow get a budget over like a Wendy's junior bacon cheeseburger, and then everything will work itself out. My point is, it's very dependent on the quality of the special effects on how the audience will react to a scene. Something in an anime could be like some out of this world badass moment, but then you check in on the live action. So as much as it's kind of stupid how much people care about like slightly uninspired CGI nowadays, its quality in live action is literally a requirement to taking this shit seriously. So these are valid criticisms, nitpicky or not. Literally when I was watching, I was just like, oh, this looks like 25 times better than insert donut budget live action adaptation CGI. So I mean, comparably it's pretty good. Nah, what I'm doing is like comparing the smells of piss and shit. Just because piss don't smell as bad doesn't mean it smell good. Obviously, I'm not saying the CGI is that bad, it's just lacking in a lot of areas. Usopp the GOAT, to be honest. He's the most human out of all of them. He's just a G. Bro's got the most realistic character development. So I think this is a very interesting comment, because looking at it from an anime perspective, Usopp has always been the sort of the useless side adventure comedy relief guy, except for some moments. Nobody hates Usopp, but he's also nobody's favorite, if you know what I mean. So it's surprising, but also actually very understandable, because he's the character that's most down to earth. And while my anime monkey brain is like equating these two things to each other, a person watching as a live action only would definitely be more inclined to appreciate that type of quality in a character. They also made Usopp black, so that's an instant plus. So with all these factors combined, live action Usopp is just the best. If you disagree, you're racist. What is this straight out of Twilight Clawdor vampire shit? So the people, in my opinion, that have the third hardest job in these live actions are the costume designers. For example, sometimes an outfit for a character in an anime is completely fine because whatever they're wearing fits their impossible body type. Or it could just be that when watching the anime, the level of acceptable goofiness in costume design is way higher than the level in any live action. Like, guys, right now in your head, just imagine Bon Clay in live action. Exactly. Half of the reason Arlong looks like a pedophile is probably the costume team, and the other half is obviously CGI. But on the other hand, the costume team is also the reason, like in my opinion, a lot of the characters look clean as fuck. Zoro, Nami, and even Buggy looks okay for how much people were hating. Like, I genuinely think they're a really good job with all the Navy uniforms and stuff like that. And that's something that could have easily fallen into the territory of just looking like One Piece Navy cosplayers. But they pulled it off pretty nicely. Clawdor though, yeah, especially with his like finger knives, they look out of place. I can't really put my finger on it, but it's just weird. So she comments on some other stuff with how she didn't really like the long and drawn out backstories, which I'm not even sure if this is a complaint of the live action. It just sounds like a complaint of the source material. Because to be honest, the way the backstories and everything related to them were handled was very true to the manga, and in my opinion, it was done very well. Although maybe I am missing something. Maybe the long, extensive backstories don't work well in live actions. I don't really know. I just watch anime and read manga. This is beyond me. Although some of the CGI looks goofy, it's also really well done as a whole, plus the actors even suit the characters really well. Man, that's what I've been saying. It seems like even when it's not a lifelong One Piece fan watching, the effort put into it, whether it be from the actors or CGI artists, is so easily visible. The actors seem to actually give a shit about the characters they're trying to reproduce, and just everyone in general who's involved with this production seem to actually have an interest in the work they're adapting. The environments and sets are so well designed, like it's actually insane how amazing some of these shots look in the show. Exactly! Everything down to the environments, how the open sea doesn't just look like a green screen, to how they actually fucking built the ships the actors sail in real life. And here's one of the executive producers on stream bamboing about One Piece for 2.5 hours. You can tell when something is made by a fan. If you're a fan of the thing you're adapting, then there's a built-in desire to put everything you have into it and get it done right. After hearing the opinions from my girlfriend and even my mom who watched the whole thing, I'm convinced that this is not only a great adaptation, but a great series in and of itself. I generally can't contain myself to see Sonic Fox play Chopper, Dreaming Bull as Whitebeard, and finally I can't wait to see Lizzo's major acting role in Whole Cake, if you know what I mean. You know what, that actually sounds so funny. Totally unrelated to anything talked about in this video, but comment what actor should play whatever One Piece character. It'll give me a laugh. But yeah, that's pretty much me. Peace.